This is VSiN, the sports betting network. This is Money Moves on VSiN, the sports betting network.
Kicking off hour two here, Money Moves, VSiN, the sports betting network, Sirius XM channel 158. Stormy, Buonantony, Jonathan Von Tobel with you still to come this hour. Roberto Arguello is going to join us. What? Why are you so mad?
No, I'm not even mad. I'm excited to talk to him, but I am somewhat hungry, and then I was thinking Roberto's, which is a very famous chain.
I had over the weekend. I got some chicken tacos and carne asada fries.
No breakfast burrito, huh?
Not this time around. It was afternoon.
I will say, I believe this is still on the menu. I know there was a conversation about this, Justin. You can confirm whether or not upstairs that is still there. Okay. Made its way into my top three after a very hungover day in which I needed something. The Saginaw's breakfast burrito upstairs is one of my favorite breakfast burritos.
I don't know if Saginaw's gets enough love here on property because, there's so many great restaurants. Everybody talks about berries and all this stuff, but Saginaw's is fire. They have a really good menu.
It slaps, as they would say, and I have slapped down a breakfast burrito or two from there, and it is tremendous.
Well, Roberto Arguello will join us coming up in the next segment. We're going to break down the Cognizant Classic with him. Does a great job as a broadcaster for PGA Tour Live. We'll also talk a little bit more on golf with Wes Reynolds when he joins the program, get some of his other plays of the day as well. Best bets at the end of the hour, a little baseball, a little NHL. But I did just want to bring this up with you because of the news in the last 24 hours. And I know you follow a lot of stuff in the fighting world. What are we doing with this Floyd Mayweather, Manny Pacquiao rematch? Why? Why are we doing this?
Well, we know why we're doing this. It's funny. So Brandy Flores, who joined us, who I work with in a part-time basis here locally, she had tweeted out something along the lines of these are cool, but why? I want to see boxing rise in popularity. I don't see how these matchups help the future of the sport. My response was, I don't think their goal is to grow the sport. It's to make money. That is why. They want to make money. I don't know if Floyd needs the money. I don't know if Manny needs the money, but they clearly just want the money, which is why they're doing this here. This is an abomination. And between Ronda Rousey and Gina Carano and between Manny Pacquiao and Floyd Mayweather too, I don't know which one to give a bleep less about. But I will tell you this right. Actually, I can't promise.
I'm just saying. I
don't want to watch anything.
The last time they did this, it was a terrible fight.
Of course it was.
So, why are we going back to the well on what was essentially a hugging match? Now it's going to be in the Sphere too. So we're just going to see these old dudes hugging each other in mass.
I will say. So I've been to, you watch a lot of, obviously we've watched a lot of sporting events. One of the most unique environments for a sporting event I've ever been in. For Manny Pacquiao and Floyd Mayweather won, I was in a all Filipino household watching that fight. That was an incredible, how intense it was, how much they the energy was awesome. It was fantastic, even though it was very small.
Even during the fight still?
Oh, yeah, no, you don't understand.
Okay.
There was even parts where, Floyd was, ducking and weaving, and Manny's missing every single shot, and they're still just screaming the whole time. I will say this, because we had a boxing match over the weekend, and I was just curious, so I texted a bookmaker here and asked about what was the handle like for the boxing match on Saturday. Was told it wasn't too bad. There was some interest, some big bets on Garcia. Then I asked, do you think Pacquiao-Mayweather will do anything? The response was, yes, absolutely. It'll be very big, as dumb as it is. So you'll get a lot of handle. It's the same thing with
the Tyson fight, right? It's stupid, and why are we doing it? But everybody's going to talk about it. Everybody's going to watch it. That's just what it is. That,
to me, is going to be, at least that one, there was the dynamic of really young versus old. This is clearly set up. There were some old heads, maybe on the network, that were buying into Tyson and thinking that you roll your eyes.
Sorry.
You roll your eyes. Yeah, I don't think there's obviously not that dynamic, but I would assume that there's going to be the sharp players will be on Floyd, and I would assume that this is a matchup set up better for him than it is for Manny. But I will tell you this right now, I will not be watching it, at least on my own. If I am alone that day, I will not be watching it.
I couldn't care less. Speaking of phrases like that, maybe I would. So the phrase that I was thinking about last segment that I was getting wrong all of my life was all of a sudden. I used to say all of the sudden. But apparently it's all of a sudden.
Okay.
And I didn't know that until about 4 or 5 years ago. So all my life I had said all of a sudden, and that's incorrect. Do not say it like that.
Okay, so you're saying which one is correct?
All of a sudden.
Correct. Okay, all right.
Yes. And all of a sudden, the NHL is back tomorrow.
Yes,
we got 8 games on deck. And coming out of the Olympic break, a handful of things that I think are important. I mean, let's just start from an injury standpoint, because there were a number of them coming out of the Olympic Games for a handful of key players. Also, just in terms of availability for some of these players coming back from Milan, how they're feeling, the guys, especially on Team USA, that did not only the victory lap when they landed initially, but then going to the State of the Union and everything like that, who's going to be in, who's going to be out. For example, Austin Matthews, we know, will rejoin the Leafs tomorrow, but his status against the Lightning is unclear. Victor Hedman, by the way, for Tampa Bay, if you remember in that quarterfinal game for Sweden and Team USA, he didn't play in the game. And at first, everybody was wondering if this was just like another weird roster decision and how he wants to utilize guys for that Swedish coach. But he actually hurt himself in pregame warmups and didn't play in the game at all. He told reporters this morning he's good to go for tomorrow. So just all these different news items, make sure you're doing your due diligence before you place a bet to know who's in, who's out of a number of these. Mikko Rantanen for the Stars. He missed the bronze medal game. He's expected to miss some time with Dallas as well. Glenn Goldson confirmed today he won't play tomorrow's game against Seattle, potentially Saturday's game against Nashville as well. And then I saw some other reports that it could be a multiple week long injury. Sidney Crosby, we still don't know the update on him as of now. Josh Morrissey injured in the opening game. He missed all the rest of the Olympic Games from then on. He's expected to miss a good chunk of time for the Jets. He's their number one defender. Kyle Connor, Connor's status for Wednesday also up in the air. Even though he was a healthy scratch down the stretch, he still has some questions when he comes back. And then another really big one, unfortunately, for the Los Angeles Kings, Kevin Fiala fractured his leg. And I really feel for the Kings in this spot, because you go out and get Artemi Panarin. The big problem that you have if you're the Kings and you're only 3 points out of a playoff spot right now is the goal scoring production. 28th in the league in goals per game, 29th on the power play. You make the move to bring in Panarin, and then your second leading goal scorer and second leading point getter ends up injured like this. So just some things, again, I just want to make sure and reiterate, as you go through these games tomorrow and the games coming up, monitor who's in and who's out. And then for the Kings, big picture, I really feel for them. Their odds for like Stanley Cup and to win the division and all of those things have taken a little bit of a hit, but still the adjustment from the Panarin trade still has them pretty high.
But they're not in position right now to have like a crazy fall from grace, I would assume, correct?
No, I think Panarin kind of supplements that loss. But now the step forward you thought that you were going to take with like having him and Kempe, and like, it's just not going to, at least in my opinion, it's not going to be that now.
Would you bet them to miss the playoffs? I mean, given the West right now, I mean, it's your Ducks, which are there in control of the final wild card.
The Pacific
Mammoth
division is so weird.
Yeah, and then there's obviously the Pacific in general, which the Kings are not that far out of third place in the Pacific. They're only 3 points back, as you said. So there's not that much that you would have to make up. And as I have said 1,000 times, which I believe still to be true, the team at the top of the division is a fake good team in the Vegas Golden Knights, who just consistently pull off getting these stupid points in overtime. Yeah. I would assume that you're in a division that's soft enough that you probably won't get knocked out of it entirely. And then the question is who behind them would maybe push them out of the picture, or would Anaheim slip enough, or Utah?
So I don't know if LA, like, I really don't have a firm feel. I want to see what it looks like with Panarin in the lineup now that he's had all this time to get worked into the fold. San Jose is a team that's really interesting, and I don't know if I'm just like all hopped up on Macklin Celebrini hype right now or what. But there have been a few people here earlier on in the season that were presenting him as a Hart Trophy candidate. And I was like, I just don't know if San Jose can do enough to get into the playoffs and really cement himself in that conversation. Like, I feel like I'm wrong in that. They have 58 points right now. So what is that? Like 4 or 5 points out of that second wild card right now. Yeah, 4. So with that, definitely reasonable to make a push in an easy division.
That's the interesting part about the way these teams are getting priced. So you look at the Kings, they're minus 225 to make the playoffs. You look at the Ducks, they are minus 265 as well. The Sharks, on the other hand, are actually priced at about plus 230 to make the playoffs.
I think that could be a fun one if you're looking for a team to make a little bit of a surge here.
Okay.
I don't know if I could actually buy in on that completely. What is Vegas going to be? You even said it a moment ago, you've called them a fake good team. I have so many questions about them because the only reason they have the point production that they have is because of all of these overtime losses. Yeah. But what's the level of concern you have with a team like that has lost those games? And you've got Edmonton nipping on their heels. We just talked about it yesterday with the heartbreak for Connor McDavid, who just can't seem to win anything. He wins all the individual awards, but can't do anything from a team perspective, whether it be with the Oilers or for country.
It's absolutely ridiculous when you look at Vegas. By far the league leader in overtime losses. They have 14. The next most is the Wild at 10, I believe.
Yeah.
So you're constantly getting yourself out of these jams by at least getting some and accumulating them. But I'm going to assume that you can't just keep getting to overtime and pulling those off. Again, I've got a worse price on it. I've got the Oilers at like plus 250 or so to win the division. They're now at the plus 550, but I still pretty much, and you would know better because you know how like the machinations of this work and what the standings are like and what point totals can be overcome. But plus 550 even now, considering that Edmonton is only 4 points out of the lead in that division, seems somewhat strong. And I will, just to reiterate again, they still play each other 3 times.
Yes.
So
you would like to see, if you're a Vegas fan like I am, or somebody that is invested in Vegas futures, you would like to see them take this final stretch and really elevate their game and take it to that next level and cement their spot as the Pacific Division leaders and all of those things. And that's what I feel like I keep hearing from other analysts, is that most of the belief is that that's what they're going to do. I just don't know. And so that's why I agree with you. I think Edmonton is a worthwhile look. There are other teams that can creep up and be playoff contenders, I think, out of that division. Atop the board, so Colorado Avalanche, to the surprise of no one, remain your favorite, plus 350, best record in the NHL. They did struggle before the break, but I'm not sure how much stock I would necessarily put into that. Looking ahead to the Olympics, they've got so much talent. Now that a lot of these guys come back, I think that the one thing that would concern me about Colorado is that the road in the Western Conference is going to be tougher on paper than the Eastern Conference is. So if I was picking between those two contenders at the top, I would lean the Lightning, who were just on a sick run before the break. The Hurricanes, I'm not sure I believe in them to be able to get over the hump.
My boys, right up there again.
Always. But we can continue. Like, we will break down the games coming up tomorrow. I can give you a little bit more perspective on whether or not you want to tread lightly or dive in. My picture thought is, like, I'm probably going to stay away from a lot of these early games. I'm not looking to fade teams specifically because they're coming out of the Olympic break or buy in on them for having, they just got all those reps and tough games. Like, that's not really for me. So we'll discuss that all coming up. Don't go anywhere. More Money Moves after this.
So you're listening to this podcast because you want an edge. But what if I told you you're only halfway there? You've got the mindset. Now it's time to get the toolkit to match. Here's the thing. Pro bettors spend thousands on data and tools, but what they don't want you to know is that you can get the same edge for a fraction of the cost with VSiN Pro. VSiN Pro gives you access to expert picks, public betting data, prop projections, powerful tools, analytics, and more. Just tap the link in the description and see why thousands of bettors are already using VSiN Pro to cash more bets.
You're watching Money Moves here on VSiN, the Sports Betting Network.
To the PGA Tour we go. The Cognizant Classic coming up beginning Thursday from Palm Beach Gardens in Florida. Stormy Buonantony, Jonathan Von Tobel with you back here on Money Moves, VSiN, the Sports Betting Network, Sirius XM Channel 158. Excited to talk it all over with somebody who will be broadcasting it all this weekend, Roberto Arguello, joining us here on the Progressive Guest Line, PGA Tour live broadcaster. Also, in the past, as we've talked about, great on the golf betting analyst side of things. Roberto, how are we doing today?
I'm great. Excited to talk some golf with you guys. Thanks for having me on, Stormy and Jonathan.
Yeah, appreciate you. And especially with this field, it's interesting just looking at the board that we have here. It's not like the previous couple weeks where you have Scotty Scheffler 3-1. A lot of long shot potential opportunities on this card, yeah?
Absolutely. A ton of win equity across the board. First off, there's no elite talent like a Scotty Scheffler or Rory McIlroy that's going to run away from the field, or at least is more talented than everyone else. And the overall nature of this golf course, and especially the recent shift with there being more ryegrass overseed, has changed the identity of this tournament. It used to be one of the toughest on the PGA Tour, where if you got to 10 under par, you'd have a great chance to win. There is still water on 15 holes, and there's Bermuda grass on the greens. But with that overseed, the ball's going to sit up a little bit more nicely in the fairway, and especially in the rough. So a lot of those southern golfers who butter their bread with their short cream aren't going to be able to separate like they normally would on this overseed. So a lot more guys can win, and we saw it last year with a relative unknown in Joe Highsmith, who doesn't have a top 20 finish since then, or a top 5 finish since then on the PGA Tour, who came out of nowhere, made the cut on the number. There are a ton of guys in the field who can win this week. So overall, I think the key aspects for a winner this week will be spiking with your approach play, focusing on guys in that 100 to 200 yard range, and then guys who can spike with their putting as well. And it doesn't necessarily mean that they need to be elite iron players or elite putters. They just need to be great this week.
So who are 2 or 3 golfers that fit that archetype that you'll be looking at for this course today?
Yeah, so one golfer I'm looking at is David Ford. So like last year's winner, Joe Highsmith, he's a lefty who isn't very long off the tee. He's the valedictorian of the PGA Tour U class from last year in 2025. He's still just 23 years old. And he really got off to a tough start on the tour after college. He missed the cut in 7 of 8 starts and did not have a top 70 finish in those first 8 starts. But since then, he's gained some momentum, tied for 3rd at the Bank of Utah Championship in the fall. And off the tee, mentioned he's not very long, but he is elite in terms of his driving accuracy. He's 8th in this field in driving accuracy over the last 3 months, 6th in the last 6 months, so it's been pretty consistent. The big difference for him is that he's at an inflection point. His iron play has started to pick up. His 4 best tournaments in terms of approach play on the PGA Tour have all come in his last 5 starts. And even though this is his first start at the Cognizant Classic in the Palm Beaches, he does have a win on this golf course, PGA National champion, back in junior golf when he was a very highly talented junior golfer. So he's a player who has been highly touted throughout his career, and now he's finally starting to put the pieces together, and I think it's a great formula for him this week.
Ryan Gerard is your favorite at plus 1850. Shane Lowry in that range as well, 19-1. The Højgaard's also atop the board. What do you make of some of these names that are, at least from an odds perspective, considered the top contenders in the field?
Yeah, I think those guys are justifiably so the top players in this field. I really like Nicolai Højgaard in terms of overall upside. He's a guy who I think could potentially win a major championship later on in his career if he continues his ascent. This isn't necessarily the best course for him, but he's so talented that even though his driving distance edge is minimized this week, he can still win. But a golfer I've really got my eye on among those 3 is Ryan Gerard. He's 5th in approach play in this field over the last 3 months, and he went from a strong iron player last year to an elite iron player over the last few months. And perhaps even more importantly, his putting went from being a huge weakness to now being a strength. Last season, in his last 16 starts on the PGA Tour with data, he lost strokes putting 15 times. By the way, his win at the Barracuda Championship not included in that data, unfortunately. But this season, he's gained strokes putting in 4 of 5 starts. Last week, he was a big loser on the greens at Riviera, but it's a very different putting surface in Poana, a little bit more bumpy, different to read than the Bermuda grass that he grew up playing. He also lives down in this area, and I think maybe a big reason for his putting improvement is that he doesn't have a dinner table. Why is that important? He moved his dinner table out of the way in his apartment to have 4 putting mats in there. And now he's got one really cool putting mat that he can rise one edge of it so that he can play right to left breaking putts, left to right breaking putts. He is dialing in the putter, and the iron play has become elite. He's one of the most improved players in the world over the last year, and he's still just 26 years old, getting into his prime. So he's justifiably right there among the favorites.
Roberto, when you look at some of these golfers, you've walked through some of the archetypes and how they fit this course. Are there a couple of golfers you would draw a line through that maybe some people would look at and be tempted by to bet here because they don't fit what this course provides?
Yeah, and it's someone who's won here in the past, so bear with me. But I'm not in on Keith Mitchell. I just don't know. I don't trust the putter. For the price, inside 40-1, it's too rich for me. I understand he can win here. He's already won here in 2019 for his lone PGA Tour win. His iron play is elite, but golf is challenging because it's a mind game. And right now, I just don't trust his putter. I don't trust his ability to hit the clutch putts. So Keith Mitchell's someone who I'm staying away from, although there are a lot of people I respect who really like him this week.
What about a guy like Brooks Koepka, back on tour, hasn't had the start I'm sure that he would like to have, but I think a lot of people have looked at this field in particular and thought maybe he could elevate his game. What's your perception of him this week?
Yeah, Brooks Koepka can win on any golf course in the world. Obviously a major champion quite a few times already in his career, and he's contended at this event in the past as well. He's a great iron player, hits a heavy ball. I think that if the wind picks up, if there are firm conditions, the more challenging it gets, the better chance Brooks Koepka is going to have this week. But the key for him is really going to be the putter. So far this season, over the last 3 months, according to Data Golf, he's the second worst putter in this field behind only Marcelo Rozo. However, he is 11th in approach play over that time. So he's clearly got all the goods to do it. I would like him on a course where the driver can help him separate a little bit more and maybe more long irons than more mid-short irons that this course will ask of him. But he can win anywhere. And if you're a Brooks Koepka fan, you've got to be excited this week because there's no big dog in the field who's got more pedigree than him.
From a matchup standpoint, would there be anything that sticks out to you? Golfers pitted against one another here, or something you would be looking for?
I haven't looked at the matchups. As a broadcaster this week, I am not allowed to gamble, unfortunately. But a couple of guys that stand out to me, Tom Kim. I think it's a nice buy low chance for him. He is someone who's won on the tour 3 times, and he's still very young at just 23 years old. But he had a really rough 2025. He wasn't consistent with his irons. He also kind of lost it with his driver. He's not a long player, not a big guy. And so when you're not accurate, it's really rough for him. But he started to turn the tide a little bit. Over the last 3 months, he's the 4th most accurate driver in this field. And in his last 5 starts, he's beaten the field driving accuracy, average driving accuracy, by over 10%, 4 to 5 times. So he is starting to put the pieces together. The putter has also been a challenge for him. But when he's won 3 times on tour, he's done it with the combination of short iron play and putting. And that's exactly what we're looking for this week. So Tom Kim is somebody who I believe is going to return to form sooner than later. And I think if you want to get ahead of the field, you might want to target him this week. Maybe not the best guy for a matchup, unfortunately, but maybe for some more upside, top 20, top 10, put him in your DFS lineup to be a little bit different. I think it's an intriguing spot.
Roberto, you're great. Thank you for the time today. We appreciate it.
Thanks, Stormy. Thanks, Jonathan. Really appreciate you guys having me on.
Roberto Arguello, everybody. Make sure you tune into the broadcast this week. PGA Tour Live, the Cognizant Classic out there in Florida. Tom Kim, by the way, 67-1 for the outright price. A little over 10-1 for top 5, 5-1 for top 10. And it is interesting, like talking about, he mentioned a couple of times Joe Highsmith winning last year. He was a 100-1 shot to get that done. Going through the recent results for the Cognizant Classic, the last 7 have all started the week 30-1 or longer that have gone on to win this tournament. The average of that being around a 95-1 price. So Highsmith was 100-1. The year before that, 100-1 shot. 2023, Chris Kirk at 30-1. Sepp Straka in 2022 at a 125-1 price. Matt Jones 80-1. Sungjae Im 30-1. And Keith Mitchell 200-1 back when he did it in 2019. So maybe a little potential down the board in a field that doesn't have a lot of those top 25 players in the world to get some bang for your buck.
Yeah, that's now the question. It's always easy to say, like, hey man, this is a tournament in which you'll probably get some variance and some guys from the bottom can win. All right, which one is it? So, but the way that this is priced, it seems very obvious that we're probably looking at a tournament in which there is going to be somebody who can make a push here. And maybe that also means some longer odds for top 10s and top 20s this week too.
No doubt about it. And coming up in the next segment, we will have VSiN's own Wes Reynolds join the program, obviously host a Long Shots, get some of his early thoughts on the Cognizant Classic. His weekly column comes out every Wednesday, so get a little ahead of that. Also talk some college hoops with Wes. Reminder, if you are betting college hoops, now's the time to get your edge because our Hoops Mania special is going on at the website. You can get full VSiN Pro access to everything we do through May 1st for just $29.99. VSiN Pro gives you the daily best bets, real-time bet splits from DraftKings and Circa, AI-powered prop tools, full access to every VSiN show on demand as well, plus our March Mania betting guide that'll be here before you know it, packed with team breakdowns, betting trends, and more. Sign up now, VSiN.com/subscribe. That's VSIN.com/subscribe.
You're watching Money Moves here on VSiN, the Sports Betting Network.
Back here on Money Moves, Stormy Buonantony, Jonathan Von Tobel, live from downtown Las Vegas, Circa Resort and Casino. Excited to have our good buddy, VSiN's own Wes Reynolds, join us here on the Progressive Guest Line. VSiN analyst, columnist, host of Long Shots here, the premier golf betting podcast, which, yes, you'll talk Cognizant Classic in a moment, Wes. But I actually do want to start with some college basketball because we've got some fun games coming up tonight, yeah?
Yeah, we've got a very big slate as we're getting closer to March now that football's over and the Olympics are over. College basketball is the focus. So every game mattering even more and more with all the bracketologists putting all their projected tournament brackets out.
Yeah, one game we haven't had the opportunity to talk about yet. I'm curious your opinion on Cincinnati coming off of the big win at Kansas the other day, taking on a Texas Tech team that no longer has JT Toppin available. It's a 6.5-point spread. What are your immediate thoughts for tonight?
Yeah, and I think that the number is probably fair because from a power rating standpoint with Toppin, you would probably make it like Texas Tech 9.5, but it's only 6.5. So I know that seems like low-hanging fruit for Texas Tech, but I think Cincinnati's starting to play their best basketball of the season. They've kind of been a hard luck team all year where everybody that's kind of watched this team is like, hey, yeah, they're a little bit better than their record, but they've lost so many close games and they really kind of get into those ruts offensively, even though defensively they're one of the better teams in the country. But that win at Kansas, I think, finally made a statement for these guys. You know, they're healthy. They're finally making some shots. They've won 4 in a row, trying to play their way back into potential at-large conversation. I think they probably have to win out the regular season. So no time like the present to do it tonight against Texas Tech, who first game without Toppin when he was finally ruled out for the season, they got a soft landing point, I think, really against K-State, who had just had Jerome Tang fired and then had a big win against Baylor in the first game without their coach. And now Texas Tech's got to play their second game without Toppin, and this is where I think it's going to be difficult. So I think Cincinnati hangs in here. Wouldn't be surprised if even they got an outright win.
All right, let's go to the ACC. Is this just the simple handicap of, hey, Duke just got a big win on a neutral site. Now they got to go on the road to take on the Fighting Irish. Big number here, 17.5 with a total of 139.5, Wes.
Yeah, you said it, John. It's a little bit of that, I think, just because coming off the win over Michigan, where that played like a Final Four national championship game, which we could see in about a month and a half, defensive battle after a really hot start. Duke also has, you look at what they have on deck, they have Saturday, Virginia comes into Cameron, then they go to NC State, and then they have the rematch with North Carolina, who just beat them a couple weeks ago. This looks eerily similar to like the Pittsburgh game, where they kind of got off to a slow start, but they had enough margin where the underdog doesn't really challenge for a win, but they never quite get away from them. So I thought 17.5 was a little much. Notre Dame, they're not going to get a lot at the rim. Of course, Marcus Burton out, Jalen Harrelson out. So they're not going to get a lot at the rim. So they're going to bomb threes. And that's exactly, I think, what they have to do to stay in the game. So no, they're probably going to have a real good crowd at the Joyce Center, too. This probably be their biggest crowd of the season, considering it's Duke coming into South Bend on a Tuesday night. So I think the dog shows a little bit of life here.
Yeah, and getting a little extra point now, too, up from that 16.5 to 17.5. So taking advantage of the better number while it's there right now. Meanwhile, St. Louis, so the Billikens got the bounce back against VCU after the loss to Rhode Island. Today, we're seeing the market move against them at Dayton. We're a 6-point favorite down to 3.5, 3 depending on where you look. What do you make of it?
Yeah, I took some Dayton overnight, and a lot of the market is coming in on the Flyers here simply because I think that they're healthy now. They're finally healthy a little bit. They're only 18-9, so they're not really an at-large conversation. They would have to likely win that A-10 tournament, but they're finally healthy. They've won 3 in a row. And they get a St. Louis team, by the way, that beat them by like 30 points. St. Louis put over 100 on them there in St. Louis about a month ago. So I think Dayton rebounds. I just think that they're healthy. They also do a very good job of getting to the line. They are the best in the country. If you look at the numbers of free throw attempts per field goal attempts, Dayton is number 1 in the country, and they're going to be a tough guard, I think, for St. Louis. So market might be telling you something, and I'm going with the some ones here and taking Dayton.
Before we move off of college basketball, just curious, a general question for you, Wes, because we've talked about this. Who do you think gets that final number 1 seed? Because it feels pretty solid that it's Duke, it's Arizona, and it's Michigan, not in that order. But there are some contenders for this final one, and all these teams seem to keep losing and not really taking hold of it. I was thinking Illinois at plus 500 might be worth adding for a 1 seed, but what do you think? Who do you think grabs that final one?
Yeah, you're right, JVT, in terms of the Big 12 teams kind of cannibalizing each other a little bit with Iowa State and Houston. Illinois, I think, is a good look because of their offense. They're the best offense in the country. But UConn, even in a down Big East this year, I think UConn is kind of maybe going to get the benefit of that because the fact that there are not a lot of losses on that UConn schedule, and they've got really good wins, including over Illinois, including over Florida, including over BYU and Texas. They've got one more big test, of course, tomorrow night. They've got St. John's coming in a rematch. You beat St. John's, who I think probably is a solid 4 seed right now in all the projected brackets. You beat St. John's. I think UConn's got a really good run and a fresh run through the Big East, and what's a down Big East this year. They might be in line for that other number 1 seed.
Okay, let's get into some of the golf as VSiN's own Wes Reynolds joins us here on the Progressive Guest Line, host of Long Shots as well, which the new one dropping soon, as will your column. When you look at this Cognizant Classic field, we were talking a little bit earlier how it seems like the last 7 years now, it's been a longer shot on the board that has ultimately come home. We don't have those top 25 players in the world that are in this field, so you're getting better numbers. How deep are you willing to look when all is said and done for this field this week?
Yeah, you got to look pretty deep, Stormy, I think, because the Cognizant is really kind of in a rough spot in the schedule, right? It's after 2 signature events on the West Coast swing. Then you've got the Arnold Palmer Invitational in Orlando next week, and then the Players Championship, of course. So a lot of the top names skipping out of here this week. So I do think that you could find maybe a little bit of value on the mid-range because there's not a lot of top quality necessarily in this field, and especially with Jacob Bridgman, last weekend's winner, just withdrawing, and Ben Griffin withdrawing yesterday. So you can look a little bit down mid-range on the board, I think, to find the winner here.
So who are some names we should look at here?
Of the shorter guys, I went with Nikolai Højgaard at 22-1, who leads the tour for strokes gained off the tee. This is a guy with 3 DP World Tour wins. He's trying to get in that top 50, by the way, over the next month to get that Masters invitation and, keep playing in these signature events. Played solidly here last year. He's got a couple top 5s already this year. So Nikolai Højgaard certainly makes sense. Daniel Berger at 40-1, I think makes sense, being that he kind of grew up playing on this course. Got a runner-up here, a couple other 4th place finishes. Going back to that Bermuda, going back to Florida, I think that's going to help a lot of guys because they've been putting on that POA out in California for the last 3 or 4 weeks now. And now going back to Florida, I would expect Berger to play well at 40-1.
So with 3 of the last 4 winners being triple digits, do you have a bomb or 2 that we should be looking at in the field?
I do, as a matter of fact, and he was 115-1 at DraftKings this morning. A guy by the name of David Ford, who is a rookie on the PGA Tour. He won the PGA Tour U for all the college players, the same event that Ludwig Gobert, Michael Bjornson, they won and got their way on the tour that way. He's number 1 in total driving on the PGA Tour, which is driving distance plus driving accuracy, and 7th for ball striking. He also does have a win on this course. Before he played at University of North Carolina, he won a junior golf event, the Rolex Tournament of Champions in 2020. I had to comb through a lot of data to find this stuff, but he won here at PGA National as a junior golfer. Same year won the junior players at TPC Sawgrass. So David Ford at 115-1. He's probably 100-1, like 90-1 now, most places, but that's a guy that I think should play very well this week, and he's going to become very popular, I think, over the next couple of days.
Wes, you're awesome as always. Thank you so much for the time. We appreciate you.
You bet, guys. Thanks for having me.
Wes Reynolds, everybody. Make sure you follow him on X as well, at Wes Reynolds 1. And the Cognizant Classic preview is up right now, live on VSiN.com. Each and every week, Kelly Bidlin, Matt Brown, the Long Shots podcast, breaking down the field each and every week as well. But make sure, again, we talked about it all the time, VSiN.com/subscribe. You get access to everything we do here, which includes unlimited access to all of the articles here on VSiN.com, so you can read Wes's preview each and every week.
Yep. I'm trying to see and pull this up. Yep, the Long Shots episode I listen to every single week. Very much looking forward to listening to it. I have not listened to it yet. I have not had the time.
Aaron Rye is another guy I was looking at. I didn't ask myself. I didn't ask my selfish question. See, this is my problem because you get mad at me when I do that. You say that my interviews turn into just
well, that was fantasy with Kendall every week.
I thought they were reasonable questions. There are people that have the same players as I do out there. True. Okay. Can
we do, because I'm in a very hardcore fantasy baseball keeper league. We need to start getting our guys on from prop points every single week so I can just ask Waylon and Jeff about my fantasy team every week.
That's a good reminder, though. I need to do baseball fantasy. I got to get set.
Yeah, you do.
Yeah.
Don't look at me. There's no room in my league.
It's so stressful, though, because it's not like football where it's, you can...
You mean it sucks?
It's daily. You have to be on top of it every day.
It depends on how you set it up. You can do weekly lineups, whatever it is. But fantasy baseball sucks.
All right, we got to step aside here real quickly. When we come back, speaking of baseball, our series continues as we preview each and every team across MLB. We will hit that in our best bets for the night after this on Money Moves.
You're watching Money Moves here on VSiN, the sports betting network.
Back here on Money Moves, Stormy, Buonantony, Jonathan Von Tobel with you. This segment of the program brought to you by Upside. Download the free Upside app today. You can earn real cash back every time you fill up your gas tank. And right now, when you use the promo code SPORTS, get 25 cents back per gallon on your first tank. Rolling along here, final segment of the day. I know you made fun of me earlier for the show going by fast. I think it slowed down after that. That's my fault. I shouldn't have brought it up. I shouldn't have said anything.
I'm filled with anger right now, so it doesn't really matter.
About what? For what reason?
Well, there is a power dynamic that is developed here at the Vegas Stats and Information Network that frankly did not exist when I first started here under Brent Musburger as a producer, and very disappointed to find out that a fantasy baseball league may or may not have been started by Stephanie, one of our bosses, I think, who could totally get me in trouble right now. And we were not invited. And I just received a text that said, I did not ask any hosts, just the AP producers and Adam Burke, which, hurtful. So we're trying to get you into a fantasy baseball league.
Now we got to start our own league.
Yeah. I do not have the bandwidth to run a league. So if you want to run
Nobody wants me to do that. Trust me.
But you're trying to get into a fantasy baseball league. I've got one that I've done now for like 4 years now or something like that. I'm awful, by the way. I hate fantasy baseball. I'm terrible at it.
I just know for me, it's important for me to stay on top of baseball every single day.
Sure. It really does help.
It does. Yeah. Like that was a very regular thing for me before I would go through games when I was prepping for shows. I would set my lineup, see who was where, and go from there. At
me, JVT, at Storm Buonantony. If you have a fantasy baseball league that has a spot for Stormy, send it to us.
Thank you.
I'm serious. I'm sure somebody out there probably, you're always looking for somebody. Somebody's always dropping off or not doing it or whatever it is. So,
speaking of which, somebody tweeted in, and after I said I used to say all of a sudden wrong, said, I'm rolling with all of the sudden moving forward. Love it. So thank you, KP3, for joining in on that. I had no idea. Are there any phrases like that for you or words that you've pronounced wrong most of your life and didn't even know?
No idea. I would have to really think about it. Nothing comes to mind.
All right. Well, can I tell you a pet peeve of mine, which I bet will be a pet peeve of yours as well?
It's not an arrogant thing. It's just I can't really think of it. What? Yeah. What?
Especially since you were a former barista. When people say espresso, it physically pains me.
Oh, instead of espresso?
Yeah. And I don't know why. Because it shouldn't bug me, but I can't help it.
I've never really thought about that.
Yep. It's not fun. It's not a good, right?
The thing that would bother me is just, terrible customers who deserve to get punched in the throat. A couple of fracases that I would get in as a barista. I surprised me because I'm very mild-mannered.
You're so calm and what a clear demeanor you have. However, the customer is always right thing.
No.
How do you feel about that?
No, not in my world. You are not always right. And there were a lot of you that learned the hard way about that. I think I've told this one, but my favorite was always we would charge $1. The USA Today would be $1 everywhere. I don't know if it still is now.
Probably not. Inflation.
Print media is dead. And when I worked at Red Rock at the Starbucks, they, for whatever reason, would charge $1.01. And so 99% of the time, I would just take the dollar and take the penny hit, whatever, on my drawer. But if you were not a good person, I needed that penny. And that was my petty way of getting it done.
You're so petty. Oh, yeah. That's funny.
Including the guy who threw $1 at me, quite literally, and then grabbed the paper. And I said, excuse me, sir. It's actually $1.01. And he's like, you're really going to charge me the penny? And I go, oh, yeah. And I got the paper thrown at me, too.
So what's the lesson we learn here?
Screw you, buddy.
Don't be an a-hole. It's that simple. With the Combine underway, by the way, out there in Indianapolis, get ready. We're going to have quotes and sound bites galore this
Billy
week
checks
going
in.
on.
He's got 2 spots for fantasy baseball. I've been a commissioner since 1987.
Let's go.
Yeah.
All right. Well, we got to do something. So let's go, Billy.
Are
you down?
I mean, Billy, if that's an invite for me as well,
if that's for real,
we'll both join then, Billy.
Said 2 spots. Yeah, I'm game. I'll send you a message, Billy. Appreciate it. That said, though, with everything going on in Indy, as much as this week is about the, prospects, for journalists, it's also the first time in a while that they get to talk to a handful of these coaches and players. And so they're asking about different things like potential trades and free agents and franchise tags and all of those things. And so Eagles head coach Nick Sirianni was one of those people yesterday with a bunch of reporters around him getting peppered with questions about A.J. Brown. He told Tim McManus of ESPN a few things about the potential for Brown, who is signed through 2029 with the Eagles, to be back this coming season. And bear with me as I read these quotes for a second. Quote, yeah, my expectation is he wants to be here. And obviously you want good players like that in your building. AJ's a great player and AJ's a good teammate and AJ's a good person. Does he want to be here? Yes. Do I want him here? Yes. But then when asked directly if Brown will be in Philly next season, his response was, will AJ be here next season? I think we're still in a spot like I can't guarantee anything is going to play out into next season. I'm thinking I'm going to be the coach next season, but you can't guarantee anything past tomorrow. So we went from thinking, okay, yeah, seems like all parties inquiring would like AJ Brown to be a part of it too.
We're all going to die one day.
Can't guarantee it. Yeah, exactly. Exactly. Like, why even put that out there?
It's quite the dramatic shift, I guess. I don't know, man. It's this whole thing has been a mess. I would assume that he's probably going to be back. I mean, we've been talking about this forever, and nothing's really budged here at this point.
I just think it's a weird, and granted, he is a guy who's known for weird quotes, so maybe we should anticipate that a little more. My thing is, it's like, even when the Eagles have success, AJ Brown is always a topic of conversation. It's always like, how much am I getting the ball? And it's the squeaky wheel constantly. But we saw even earlier this year, even when he was getting the ball in high pressure games and high pressure situations, then he didn't deliver in those moments. So I don't know. I'm not a big AJ Brown fan in terms of, I think there's an addition by subtraction potential with somebody like him.
I would tend to agree. I don't know if it's worth we always talk about, I think it was Tim McMahon who first said this, at least where I heard it. It's the pain in the ass to production ratio. So as long as you're,
it's like the hot crazy scale.
Yeah. So exactly. So like as long as you're producing, then you could be a pain in the ass. But if you're starting to go to the other side of it, which is being more of a pain than you are being productive, or if you're being more crazy than you are hot, then all of a sudden it's time to reconsider this relationship. And
then maybe if you're in a different situation and you're not feeling as comfortable, maybe you're not as crazy about it, go to somewhere like the Kansas City Chiefs, maybe.
The Chiefs
that deals with more of that stuff.
Yeah, do they deal with it? Or do they just let their players run rampant and then wear shirts that say free for after what he has done? So,
God, I forgot about those shirts. Yep. What are we doing? Okay, last couple minutes here. Let's get to the bets because you did have a play yesterday and you have added something today.
Yeah, added the Twins win total under yesterday, but obviously we don't have a result for that. We do have a result for Houston as a 1.5 point favorite yesterday, so that is a loss, and we will take that one on the chin. Houston never really in that game. For today, 2 NBA plays. Cavaliers minus that 3.5 today in this spot against the Knicks. I will believe, put the money where the mouth is on the Cleveland Cavaliers, and Pelicans +2 at home against the Golden State Warriors. DeJounte Murray's back, but I don't really care too much about that. So Draymond Green, he will play. Al Horford will not. We know the Curry's still out. I think this is a spot for the Pelicans to get a potential win at home.
The only thing I bet today, and I didn't have it as an official play, but maybe I should since I didn't have anything yesterday, so we can put this in, is the under 140 in Duke Notre Dame tonight. The more that I have gone back and forth and thought about the pace of play for both of these teams, I don't want to think about the spread as much about whether or not Notre Dame can keep it close. I was even looking at their team total under in general, but just the tempo, the defense that Duke can play. Also, give Notre Dame credit for what they've been able to do on the defensive boards, 23rd in all of college basketball on the defensive glass, that we keep this under. I see 139.5 right now is the prevailing number, but I think that's a worthwhile under tonight. So we can lock that in. I'll make it officially official.
All right, I like it. That's it? That's all you got?
Yeah, that's all.
Disappointing. You'll have more tomorrow.
I'll be more into that. But I thought about Iowa State today too. There's a lot of games that I was teetering on that I just didn't ultimately play anything. What about anything else in the NBA that you contemplated? Because we have a big card for the first time.
We've talked about a few of these. Obviously, the one thing that I was messing around playing with, and maybe I'll do today, is that moneyline parlay we were discussing.
I like that.
Which would be, now it's a little bit higher, especially you can throw this in because he is playing, but Atlanta, Philly, and maybe even Charlotte against a Bulls team that hasn't been playing particularly well. That's a very kind way to put it. Playing against two of those tanking teams. By the way, we shouldn't barely lead to Oklahoma City, Toronto, one of the better games today as well. We've been interested to see that. But those were the only ones that I was kind of messing with playing. And And that's really it on the radar. Minnesota-Portland tonight should be a lot of fun. Up to 7. And, Minnesota's been a team that I cannot figure out at all with some of these point spreads. They've been showing up and with some lackadaisical efforts as big favorites, and 7 on the road is a pretty big number against Portland, but no Denny Avdia and a little dinged up there too. Last minute, can I add something? We got a tweet in here.
Go.
Willie checked in. Everyone says you can't have your cake and eat it too, but the correct phrase is you can't eat your cake and have it too. And he notes, I don't know if this is true, it's how they caught the Unabomber.
What?
Yeah. I don't know. I mean, I'd have to look that up and corroborate that final statement, but he at least has a statement that, is mishead? What is the word I'm looking for here?
I don't know.
Missaid?
Misspoken?
Yeah, misspoken.
Yeah.
But yeah, there you go.
I was about to, I don't want to embarrass myself any more than I already have on the program today. I'll tell you off air. There's another word that I've mispronounced my entire life until a few years ago.
Okay.
But I've grown, in my 20s, I matured. That's what you're supposed to do.
Yeah. I really have to think about that for a second to see what exactly I've gotten wrong this whole time.
On that
I get
note,
a lot of stuff right.
That's a wrap for us today. We'll be back tomorrow, same time, same place. Stick around, follow the money coming up after this with Mitch Moss and Pauly Howard. Cleveland radio host Tony Rizzo going to stop by, talk through the Cavs and the hottest betting angles, as well as Circa owner Derek Stevens on the program today. Get excited. Have a great day, everybody. Good luck with your bets.